Hello everyone, welcome to our Art and Brexit Young People's Opportunities talk. It's the fourth of our Art and Brexit talk series, and I'm really happy for all of you who just joined in for this one. And like I mentioned, the focus this week is young people's opportunities, young people's mobility, their development, and how they can progress and develop themselves, even though Brexit has already happened. And this week we are joined by brilliant speakers. This week we have Borimir, James and Saziso with us. And I'm really happy to be coordinating the talk. My name is Marta, I represent Centrala Gallery, and we're going to do a round of introductions now, starting maybe with Borimir.
Hi everyone, hi, I'm Borimir, thanks so much for having me. When Marta wrote to me with her idea for tonight's discussion on Art, Brexit and opportunities for young people, I thought she's mirroring word for word my lived experience over the past year. As I'm sure everyone's had a crazy 2020, for me there was an added layer of crossroads to the COVID and Brexit equation, whereby last summer I packed a few t-shirts and decided to spend some time working from home in Bulgaria after having spent my time growing up studying and working in London from the age of 9. So a few summer shirts and a few weeks as initially planned turned into 8 months, and I'm still here. I'm currently working with the New Europeans, which you'll hear me talk about more later on. And I'm also treasuring this opportunity for clear headspace in order to work on a number of creative projects on the themes of migration. That, like with everything else in London in your day-to-day grind, you sort of only flirt with the idea and put at the back burner, but I finally have time for execution. So I'm excited about that.
Great, thank you, Borimir. And James, we can move on to you now.
Hi, thanks for having me, Marta and Centrala. So I'm James Banner. I'm a freelance musician and composer from Dudley in the UK, now living between Berlin and Leeds in the UK. And yeah, I'm really glad to be here. Currently working on a variety of sort of remote projects, let's say, but really looking forward to getting back to it when it all opens up again, which is hopefully very soon.
And Saziso.
Hello everyone. First of all, thank you so much to Marta and Centrala Space for the invitation to be part of this event. So I'm a cultural producer and visual arts curator based in Nottingham. I'm also the founder of the Anti-Gallery, which is a small pop-up arts organisation specialising in exhibiting and engaging art outside of traditional art gallery environments. I'm also the curator for UK New Artists, which is a biennial for, initially was for young artists and is now open to artists who are in the first 10 years of their career. I'll be speaking a little bit about what we have in store later on in the programme, and international opportunities and developments, they've played a massive role in kind of like my career and where I am today. And so this is a subject matter very close to my heart.
Great, thank you. So we'll jump straight to it. And for this talk, we would like to focus on three different areas. So first of all, we need to remember that some opportunities which were valuable for young people are no longer there. So we'll be focusing on how the art world, the young creatives opportunities were functioning before Brexit happened, what's happening right now. That's going to be our second area. What changes need to be done, what changes are being done right now, and then we'll move on to the future and what we can look forward to when it comes to young people's development, mobility, etc., etc. So I would like to start here with James. James, because you have done a lot with European musicians, with European producers, and all of this started at some point in the past. If you can tell us a bit more how your journey started and how you ended up, you know, in Europe, in Berlin as well.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, everything that I do now and who I am as a musician and the developments that I've made, well, maybe not everything, but a big part of that is because of the mobility opportunities I've had and the opportunity to collaborate and exchange with mostly European musicians. And that kind of began, the first ever kind of European exchange experience I had was called the Trondheim Jazz Exchange, which was a collaboration between Birmingham Conservatoire, where I studied, Trondheim NTNU, and Cheltenham Jazz Festival. Every year they would invite, well, students would come over to Birmingham, and we'd have a kind of a week of intensive workshops developing each other's music, and then we would perform at Cheltenham Jazz Festival, which was really, really exciting in itself. But that kind of experience of meeting new musicians who are completely different to you and being exposed to live music that you've never ever heard before, it was completely mind-opening. And so that was the first kind of brilliant experience I had. That was in 2012. Later on, I was involved in the Erasmus exchange program, and that's kind of a theme that runs through all of the, well, quite a lot of the work that I've done in the last 5 years. I went to study in Paris, met lots of really brilliant young musicians from all different backgrounds. I was there only for 4 months. Definitely a life-changing experience. Kind of makes you realize what's out there. And I suppose when you're born into like a regional scene, because I'm from Dudley and I would only move to Birmingham, which is 20 minutes away. I'd grown up there and I was aware of kind of all the things that were going on, and the jazz scene was quite small and student focused. So to be in a city where it was so integral to the culture was such a kind of eye-opening experience, and made me want to then go on to move to Berlin, which I did in 2015 to do a master's at the Jazz Institute Berlin, which is part of the Hans Eisler School and the University of the Arts. Yeah, so that's how I ended up in Berlin, and I've always kind of loved being part of collaborative projects and also organizing them. And the first one I did was with Vilde and Inge, who are a duo from, I think they live in Norway, but one of them is Swedish, but a kind of Scandinavian-based duo, string duo. And I was just a massive fan of their music, very patient and beautiful, improvised double bass and violin. And I just, sorry,
yeah, if I can just add to what you're saying, I think the big part of, you know, Erasmus program, like those international exchanges for young people, is this idea that you can go somewhere, explore, and you have this freedom, this thought that you can be in one area of Europe in, you know, 1 month, and then 6 months after you can be in a completely different place, and it gives you this headspace and thoughts like, okay, I can explore, but I don't need to stay. Maybe I'll end up somewhere else. I can do something here. I can do something there, which is, I think, at the stage when you are, let's say, from 18 to 24, something very valuable, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I wanted to stay. I didn't want to come back.
Yeah.
Just because it was such a brilliant experience and had such a good time there. But yeah, that feeling that it suddenly so many more things become possible than you ever imagined. Yes. And that's supported through like the Erasmus grant, and you get instant connections with the school and with the teachers and the different musicians and the clubs and various collaborative projects. All the Erasmus students were made to feel so welcome into the course. It wasn't just like, oh, here's James, the Erasmus exchange student. There were quite a few of us from all over Europe, and we were all embedded immediately within all the different ensembles.
And I also wanted to ask you, what's the current, you know, climate, let's say, in the musician industry community when it comes to, you know, changes, when it comes to Brexit? I'm talking here about touring, the fact that this will definitely change, the conditions will change. What people are most worried about when it comes to that?
I think essentially the freedom to go to another country and work at relatively short notice without all the kind of hurdles and paperwork
Yeah.
To jump through, visas as you mentioned, and yeah, it's the things like taking your musical instrument. You'll need a certificate for certain instruments, and do you have to pay social security contributions in that country if you earn the money there? Because the tax deals haven't changed, but things like that have changed, and every country is now operating on a different set of rules in relation to the UK. So it's just very difficult to navigate. So if you were a young musician wanting to do something with your Erasmus partners, as I did in 2017. Another friend, Mark Pringle, who had done an Erasmus in Paris the year after me, he put together a band and we toured the UK with support of the Arts Council. And he invited a musician from Portugal, João Pereira, and another musician from Sweden, Tobias Andersson. And that was just so easy. They just got on a plane, flew over, and we could tour, and there was no issue with invoices or tax or instruments.
Yeah.
But now things like that are just becoming much more difficult. That's kind of how I see it in relation to my own experience.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm very lucky in that I still have the right to work in Europe because of an Irish passport. But not everyone is as lucky as I've been in that respect.
That's definitely an advantage for you. And I think this links us to something which I think Borimir can really contribute to with your practice in the organization you're working now in Europeans. If you would like maybe to talk a bit more about that.
Yeah, so New Europeans UK is a civil rights organization that champions the principle of solidarity, free movement, and non-discrimination in Europe. And I think similar to the way we've all experienced, the cultural sectors need to reinvent itself and match its offering to the new reality of COVID and Brexit. We've had to do the same and rethink the way we provide our services in light of restrictions on in-person events and interactions. The breadth of our work at the moment is positioning ourselves as an organization that is active in educating, providing legal support, and raising awareness from the onset that as an EU citizen living, studying, or working in the UK, you have rights. That's one of the biggest challenges we've observed, especially in young people, is that lack of knowledge about their rights, or not knowing the roots to raising their concerns as a first step to feeling more empowered, that their voice really matters. And I just want to add that this is by no fault of their own, but owing more to the crazy amount of responsibilities we have as a generation juggling at any one given moment, and also a lot of media confusion and noise around the topic of what it means to be an EU citizen in the UK right now.
And what do you think is the biggest challenge of getting to educate young people about their rights and how they can, navigate within that system? What's difficult in getting to them as well, because engagement can be difficult, as we know, as we all know at times.
If we think of the third sector as one of the major players in providing that education, I'm going to take your question from that. The third sector was equally hard hit by COVID and Brexit. And we all know it's a sector that does too much on too little resource. We work with a lot of third sector organizations and community organizations that cater to the needs of different diaspora groups in the UK. And the shared concern amongst those that pay attention to EU citizens, what's happening with EU citizens is that their beneficiaries, again, I'm going to repeat myself, know very little or nothing about the steps that they need to take to secure their rights and continue living in the UK. It's a massive oversight on the third sector's end not to have focused a lot earlier with a lot more resources on EU citizens. That's not because we're a special group of people, but purely because EU citizens and their family members, which is taking us onto another whole other legal route, are such an ingrained and because of that invisible part of communities in the UK, that it's very easy to overlook EU citizens and not count them as vulnerable groups, but that is essentially what they are becoming, because they're going to face a whole load of challenges. Something as simple as finding a place to live to applying for education, which is going to affect young people, because that's what we are. We're mobile. We don't necessarily stick around, or we just come here for education or for some sort of experience or internship. And, you know, what we're trying to do with our work at the moment is make the third sector understand that as a first step before allocating any resources or opportunities for young people is to identify us and prioritize us as something to pay attention to.
Yeah, that's really important to say also here that according to the data collected when it comes to the Brexit referendum, we need to remember that 70% of people between 18 and 24 years old, they didn't vote to leave, they voted to remain. And these are now people who need to face the consequences of what happened. So they need to be prioritized, but it does not seem that a lot of people really understand it, unfortunately.
Yeah. These are people that have lived most of their life with the idea that the EU is just there, and that Britain is just part of it. So it's a whole education and re-education process on both sides to make people aware of what has changed and how it will impact their lives.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Borimir. And now let's see, maybe Saziso will lift the spirits a bit more, because what I wanted to ask is about the international work that UK New Artists do, and whether you have any programs or any perspectives on how to keep the relationships you have with international organizations already, and how to keep them, going and alive after Brexit.
Yeah, so with UK New Artists, I think the international side of things is very important. UKNA, as it also known as, is very committed to international opportunities and collaboration. And so over the year, we've, UKNA, or when they were UK Young Artists, have done work in partnership with different organisations from different countries, whether that be artist residencies, exhibitions, biennials as well. So I'll give some examples of that. So UKNA have a partnership with organisation in South Korea. This was something that started off as an initiative encouraged and partly funded by the Arts Council, and this turned into this developed into a relationship. So initially it was artists going out there, there was like residencies, opportunities to make work, but on the back of that, there were partnerships with South Korean artists and British artists, which resulted in exhibitions both there and in the UK. And on the back of that, the exhibition and the opportunity in South Korea, UK New Artists were invited to China to undergo a residency, which involved British artists and local artists as well, where they were given the opportunity to create new work using the materials that were just the only materials that were able to use were what they were surrounded by. And so this was a great development opportunity for artists, also working within an international environment and within a local environment. UK New Artists also has a partnership with Platform Nord, who are based in Norway. So in 2019, they There was the Entitled residency, which gave the opportunity for British artists to connect and collaborate with Norwegian artists. So a really important part of UK New Artists' work is ensuring that when residencies are done internationally, that the British artists are working with local artists from that country. And for a lot of artists, that's a great, not just in terms of like their artists, you know, it's not just, I suppose, about the space for artistic and creative development, it's also cultural development, learning about different cultures, learning about working internationally, and I suppose personal growth as well. And I would say about 80% of the artists that go on these residencies have never exhibited internationally before, have never had any kind of like international connection to their work, and so this is a great opportunity for them to do that and also learn the cultural things, you know, like, you know, if they don't have much international experience, little things like, you know, knowing which plug sockets to take and you know, what, you know, voltages and wattages, and you know, and also, you know, the understanding of each country. So, you know, some countries have more access to arts and culture than others. There are countries where arts and culture is funded by the state. There are some cities that don't even have an art museum or anything like that. So it's an opportunity also for people to kind of see how different countries operate. And I suppose also maybe in some cases recognise just how much access we have to arts and culture here in the UK. And I also forgot to mention that UK New Artists are in partnership with BJCEM, which is they're based in the Mediterranean, and they are very much committed to kind of like young people and produce biennials as well. So they will be launching the Young Artist Biennale this year, and hopefully, you know, that will go ahead, and that is working with young curators and young artists, and they have brought artists over to the UK as well for UK, from when it was UK Young Artists, for events as well. So there is a very big international partnership. And in terms of moving forward, we hope to keep these relationships with the organisations that we've been working with internationally. So with South Korea, I think we're aiming to return to South Korea in 2023. So that is still very much a strong relationship. And also there's the relationships with Platform Nord in Norway. Most recently, we've developed a relationship with an organisation called Jukwa Arts, who are based in Mombasa in Kenya. And we've already done some online activity with them, gotten to know some of the artists. We've had artist sharing sessions, and we've also had you know, the opportunity to learn more about the organisation and how things work there. And so we do hope to have some kind of exchange where the artists from Jukwa Arts can come to the UK, and hopefully we're hoping maybe there'll be an opportunity as well for artists from the UK to be able to go to Mombasa in Kenya. Obviously with Brexit, you know, things have changed in terms of kind of like how we do things. You know, sometimes with these projects, you'll have the European partners, and then there'll sometimes be an external partner, which would be like a non-European organisation. It may be likely that as a UK organisation, we may be considered, you know, if we were to apply to be part of something as a non-European or an outside external organisation. And so that could change things in the way that we operate, and of course in the way that we're seen. I think we can all agree that I think Europe in general, and maybe the world, kind of sees us in a different way, I think, after Brexit, in terms of kind of, I suppose, and also just mobility as well. So, but we are hoping that you know, we can still, you know, go out to these countries and continue this exchange of artists getting together and collaborating and creating. And, you know, we are 100% 100% committed to international, solidifying, continuing these international relationships as well. And I just wanted to, just one more opportunity. It's not an international opportunity, but it could bring international opportunities. I just wanted to say that the Robert Walters Prize, which we're in partnership with, is coming up soon. Hopefully in the summer, applications would be open. So it's an open call for artists to submit work for a prize and the opportunity for their work to be exhibited at the Saatchi Gallery in London, which of course is big international gallery. And so I would encourage people to apply. They can find out through the UK New Artist website. And I think just for young artists of all disciplines, I would just say, keep looking at opportunities, apply for opportunities. There are, there may not be as many at the moment because of Brexit and of course because of mainly because of the pandemic, but there are opportunities out there. So don't be, don't be put off by the situation. I think there can still be ways around things. So yeah.
That's really good to mention this. Thank you, Saziso. And now I think it's the time that we maybe can say a few tips for young creatives and young people who would like to continue, exploring, traveling to different countries, and they are a bit scared that because of Brexit, things may change and the UK may not be on the map of opportunities anymore. I think it's really important to say that that may be not necessarily the case, and there may be still ways around. If we can start from James and do like a little round of tips and advice.
Yeah, so I just thought I'd maybe signpost some opportunities that I've tried to apply for in the past and have noticed recently in connection with this. So a really good one in the UK is Arts Jobs, which I'm sure a lot of people know, but if you don't, that's kind of all art forms. Arts Jobs, I think it's .org or .org.uk. Maybe someone can clarify that later. And as well as that, in terms of music, there's Sound and Music, Making Music, and PRS Foundation, which I was really lucky to be part of. Adopt a Composer last 2 years ago. That was a brilliant experience, and they've got all kinds of funding for various different groups of people across all genres of music. And for composers specifically, at the moment, the Ivors Academy have set up a remote recording directory. It's called the rrd.net, and that's if you're a composer looking for a performer to play a piece. If you're a composer, it's sometimes it's often very difficult to get your music played or noticed. To get noticed or played, you often need a video, and it's kind of this endless circle that you need to have the video to get more opportunities, but you can't find someone to get the opportunity. So this is a really brilliant initiative in that respect. That's called the RRD, as I said. And for people looking to go to Europe, musicians looking to go to Europe now, Live, who are an organization in the UK, just posted a guide to going to Europe on Twitter. It might be a little bit out of date now. I saw it around a month ago. Their Twitter handle is livemusic_UK. And there's also a portal, part of Creative Europe, called iPortunus, i-Portunus, which is not just for music, it's also for architecture, design, and that's to enable collaborations between different countries that are part of Creative Europe. And I believe that the UK is still part of Creative Europe this year, at least. And I'm also currently calling for scores for people who'd like to compose for double bass, learn how to compose for the bass, or they have pieces written for this instrument and that they'd like to have recorded. I've had quite a really great response already from people from all the way from Western Canada across the world to Australia, and I've been doing workshops, and it's completely free. So if anyone would like to do that, I'm available to do that. And spotlight one more thing, which is Galleyway, which is spotlighting opportunities for writers of colour. That's in literature, poetry, TV, film and theatre. They shared my opportunity that I had recently, which was commissioning writers, and that's a really brilliant website that's covering all kinds of art forms where writers are involved, let's say. And I don't really have any other tips other than if you can travel and study or collaborate with people from somewhere that's not where you're from, that's always a beneficial thing for you as an artist or as a person. You always learn something about yourself and develop. So just do it if you can.
Brilliant, thank you. Thank you, James. Borimir, any tips?
For me, is just to mention something that came across my attention in the past couple of weeks. We've been working on a project in the run-up to the local elections in May. And it's something that's been recurring in our work, and it's how important it is to make people aware of their own untapped potential. It sounds super cliche, but I just want to say that when you come together in a group or collective, your voice is automatically amplified 1,000 times. And this doesn't only apply to community organizations or politics in the political context. I think we can take that on in the arts and cultures. Don't underestimate the power of self-organizing. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of creatives out there in a very similar situation to you. And I think it's just a question of seeking them out, whether be it on social media and sending that first message, hey, we can do something impactful together. And I think together is the key word here.
Brilliant. That's a very, very good tip. I think especially in Western culture, in the creative industry, we're being taught that, everyone is an individual, but it may not necessarily be that beneficial as we think, and the power is always in the group. So that's a really great tip. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Saziso?
Yeah, I think, obviously it's Arts Jobs has already been mentioned, and Creative Europe. Well, I wish I could say Erasmus, but but I would definitely say UK New Artists, UK NA, definitely keep up to date with what's going on there. For opportunities, even if it's domestic opportunities, because those domestic opportunities can lead to international opportunities, as they have done in the past. And we've had artists that have exhibited as part of our city takeovers, who have had the opportunities to exhibit in places like Albania and China and South Korea. So do get to know UK New Artists and all the stuff that we're doing. And of course, I mentioned the Robert Walters Prize. I'd also say online, there's a really good Instagram page called Run the Check. And they post opportunities pretty much daily for creatives across all disciplines. And they do focus on London-based opportunities, but with a lot of us working remotely, a lot of the stuff can be done. They are welcome to a lot of the opportunities they post are open to people across the UK. I'd also say there's a Facebook group. I can't remember the name of it, but it's dedicated. It's like job opportunities for artists. People are constantly posting residency opportunities and exhibition opportunities for artists and curators, and a lot of the opportunities there are international ones, so that's another good one. And on Twitter, there's a lady, she's a Sheffield-based producer called Linda Bloomfield. Every Tuesday she does a thing called Opportunity Tuesday, where every Tuesday she posts a list of opportunities for creatives that I would not have seen anywhere else. So do check that out. I think her Twitter is @LindaBXX. And these are opportunities with big organizations who have international connections. And lastly, the British Council are a really, really good one in terms of international opportunities. So do sign up to their mailing list, do see what they have in store, because they've always got some really good opportunities out there. And I know, if I'm not mistaken, there is a section or a focus that is towards kind of young artists as well, and younger creatives and young people. So yeah, I'd say check those out as well.
Brilliant. Thank you for this. And I will add just one from myself. So I think a good tip is also to reach personally to the organization, even though they don't run a program dedicated for a group of people or individuals. It's always good to reach out and ask, because things can be sorted out in many different ways. And especially, you know, if you, I don't know, are trying to reach Tate, this may not be, you know, successful, but if you're targeting smaller organizations, there is a big chance that people will come back to you and will figure out a way to help you and help you move, help you, you know, do something very exciting with them. So that's, again, something to keep in mind. Right, guys, I think we are, yes, we are over half an hour. But that was a really good chat, and you have been brilliant, and I think you've left our audience with lots of different good tips, and hopefully the conversation will still be going, and we will see our young people traveling and doing exciting things. So thank you again, and thank you to our audiences who joined tonight with us. The video will be available later after the stream, so you can always come back to it if you're looking for some particular organization mentioned in the talk. So thank you again. Does anyone want to say something to our audiences before we log out?
Thank you. And don't rush into things as well. Maybe, you know, we've mentioned, so we've overloaded you with information. Sometimes it's also healthy to just take a step back and refocus and know which one you want to hit and which one you don't, and give yourself some mental health space too.
Nice one. Saziso, you were saying something.
Probably similar lines to what Borimir just said, and I think it's about that thing of just being positive. You know, I know there's a lot out there. We just, you know, just as when we were dealing with Brexit at the beginning of last year, then of course the pandemic came along, and that's been the focus of obviously many, you know, it's impacted all of us. It has impacted the way that we travel and we connect. But I would say just keep positive, keep a positive mindset, have that. And, you know, just to kind of go follow on from what Marta, what you were saying about connecting with organizations, do that. Connect with people online, establish those relationships as well. But yeah, just like, it is a difficult time, but just keep positive and work towards that. But do give yourself the time and space to kind of just breathe and not rush into things, as well, as Borimir said.
Brilliant. Thank you all. Thank you all once again, and see you in 2 weeks for another talk. Thank you.